All right, welcome back to Frets. Today our guest is Horace Bray, so everybody welcome Horace. Man,
Thanks,
appreciate you being here. So how are you today?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to talk all things, music and fretted instruments with you. I guess just right off the bat, tell us, because I actually, when I think about it, I don't even know if I know. Tell us where you're from and a little bit of like your musical background and everything.
Yeah. I moved around a lot growing up. I was actually born in Anaheim, but mostly grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and started playing guitar around age 13 and very quickly got into jazz. Went to University of North Texas for music,
Okay,
jazz
great. Yeah.
specifically. And then over the last couple years, I've kind of gone in and out of contemporary jazz world, it's kind of singer-songwriter music, and like yourself, I've dabbled in pop. And yeah, that's been kind of like the main,
Nice.
the very abbreviated trajectory.
Yeah. Of course, it's always a longer road than as you can explain. But how was your time at North Texas? Because I've heard a lot about the school and obviously like know some of the players that have come out there. So I've always just been intrigued and curious about how was that experience for you?
It's cool. It's interesting. It's a state school.
Okay.
So you it has a little bit of that vibe. Like there are frats. It's like, I think like 50,000 people when I was there.
Right.
But it was the first jazz program. So because of that, it's I wouldn't say it's antiquated, but it is very focused on the tradition. And they put a big emphasis on bebop, a big emphasis on being able to sight read, on big bands. They have, I think, 9 different big bands, like the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
I've heard of those.
All the way down to 9. And they get progressively, like the music gets more difficult the earlier in the day you meet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it was really good. I think it was the most interesting thing was the reactionary music that got made in juxtaposition to the tradition. Because while the school was very traditional, there was a lot of very like drum and bass heavy experimental music that was going on outside the school. So because of that, even though it isn't such as like a modern of a program as the new school or like maybe going to MSM or something like that, you ended up with a really big, wide spread of music that was being made in the town. Also, like the Snarky Puppy guys were kind of from there. You had the contemporary classical kind of composition program at the school was very, very hyper modern, like microtonal minimalist pieces. And
Gotcha. Yeah,
so it's like I definitely had a couple like performances of doing like an ebo where you're trying to get it like the beating of the 2 notes to be a specific rhythm with the drums, and it's
that's very cool.
I really loved it. It was great.
That sounds awesome too, because I think sometimes, especially younger players, I remember myself feeling like worried about programs that were too traditional or something, almost in terms of like, if you learn too much bebop, you won't be playing pop down the road or something. But now with age, hindsight's 20/20. So that's really cool to have like the structured tradition of like just having bebop knowledge and language under your fingers and everything, but also, doing crazy experimental stuff like that with ebos. That's awesome. Great. So did you hang around in Texas after you finished school, or did you come straight to LA or New York?
I went to New York first. I did a 5-year undergrad.
Okay.
Because I had a little bit of a hand injury my sophomore year.
Okay.
And then I hung out for about a year and a half after. Yeah, I had like a steady church gig. I had, had some restaurant gigs with friends, and basically the main catalyst for me moving was my car kind of blew up in my driveway. I had like an old 95 Ford Taurus.
Yeah.
And it
was just done.
Fried the battery, kind of melted, and then like melted some of the metal. It was it was very tragic.
Yeah, that's
but
insane.
I had enough money to like get another car that would maybe end in a similar way, or move to New York where I didn't need a car. So
very interesting.
That was kind of the main push, and then I kind of randomly moved to New York City, to Brooklyn.
It's funny how sometimes like the choice to make a big move is sometimes almost decided for you. So it's like, get ready, because you never know. It might not be how you think it happens. Similarly, when I moved here to LA, it was like the tail end of COVID, and I was like, I could either rebuild my career where I'm living or just
Yeah.
You know, when nobody's working now. So it's funny how just like circumstances can sometimes push you into new territory and all
Where
that.
were you before?
I was in Atlanta for 5 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So after I'd finished school, I went to Atlanta,
That
and then
makes sense. There's a lot of good guitar players from Atlanta.
it was definitely fun. It was a great place to get started and all that. Way cheaper than here.
Yeah.
But speaking of back in that era of when I was leaving school and moving, I've been following your music and playing for quite a bit before I even knew you as well. So one thing I wanted to ask about, I remember being just back in those years, I had checked out your warm up. Thing you posted on Sound Slicer, not posted, but like the lesson pack or whatever you did. So, which was great, and I used to practice those examples and stuff back then. But I guess now it had me thinking that, and check that out, by the way, Horace on Sound Slice. But basically, I was wondering, like, what does your warm up? Because you're just warming up before we started filming here, and it's something that intrigues me about different musicians, like. What does it really entail for you now? Not necessarily like explaining that program, because people can check it out if they want, but what does like a warm up for a professional like you look like day to day, I guess?
Interesting. I mean, should I grab?
Yeah.
Guitar? The new pick I've been using.
What pick do we have?
So I was using the Andy Wood signature blue chip pick, which
I've
is
heard
amazing.
Of. Yeah.
But because of the quality and the price point, it makes me very afraid to lose them, and I cherish them so much. So Dunlop came out with the 1.14 version of the Flow.
Oh, okay, nice.
Before I was using the 1 millimeter for more like funky stuff, but it was I think this actually is a really good middle ground.
Great, I'm gonna have to check it out.
For a pick that only costs like $1.
Yeah. It's not blue chip level price point.
So I still love those for the studio,
of course.
But for general use, these
and gigging and stuff. Yeah.
So for like warming up, I feel like it's a threefold kind of like thing that you have to rebuild your relationship with a little bit. Where there's like your physical aspect of warming up, which is like if you're actually cold, or you just woke up in the morning and you need to get the blood flowing, and like maybe you haven't drank enough water, like getting your body in tune. And then I think there's a dusting off of the mind that has to happen, which I usually get from doing something that I have to actively think about. And then I feel like there's like a spiritual aspect to it as well.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily religious, but it could be. And that's like the connection between the two. So there's like two things, and then like the thing that connects them. So a lot of times when I'm warming up, you see like a lot of people, they'll do like some scale, try to like start it way too fast. Maybe I'll use a little bit less. But what I really love to do is to get like a drone going.
Okay.
And then to just go through the major scale really slowly and really emphasize on hearing and feeling it like it's a melody. That's like the first handshake. And then I'll play a little bit more with dynamics. And maybe I'll start to warm up the brain a little bit more. I'll do like sixths. Kind of try to focus on cadences, and then eventually I'll expand it out maybe a little bit more. I'm focusing on like, okay, G major and A minor. I'll be going between these. And just going through a little improvised piece like that,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like really connects me to the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, you know, you can do some metronome work as well, like getting like your 16th notes are really locked in. But yeah, I feel like if I do something like that, it keeps me in a very honest place with creating. Because when guitar's the least fun for me is when I feel like I have to start playing really quick, and I'm just reciting things I've memorized, and it's not really. It feels very autopilot and transactional. So I try to do anything I can to avoid it feeling like that.
Yeah, I love your answer, because that was one thing I was curious about how you approach it, because I feel like a really common thing with a lot of players is just that when they think warm up, like it often kind of comes out immediately just as like, and it's an honest intention of getting there, but it's just very mechanical, like chromatic warm-ups and things like that. And while they have their place, I just think I've been thinking lately that a lot more players, from amateur to pros, like I bet a lot more people need less of that and more of the connection as they warm up. Like it's almost like people are afraid they forget where the scale positions are and stuff, and it's almost like you said, the waking up the brain, the ears, and even I loved how you said the working with dynamics and things like that, because it's sort of like you said, it feels less transactional, and you're into an honest place where you can like express different levels of or shades of things with one note, like things like that. And also something I noticed is that, do you think that while there might not need to be as much like daily remembering scale positions or whatever, I noticed as you started playing sixth and things, you started string skipping a lot. So that's something I find, at least, that like if anything physically needs to wake up, it's probably just, depending on what guitar I'm playing, with the string spacing and things, just kind of acquainting myself with the pick is oftentimes more of like what needs to wake up than just like a scale shape or something like that, So do you often use the drones when you start for the day and stuff?
I think it's fun.
Yeah, it sounds great.
It brings like a certain innate amount of reverence to it, because it's like, do all the all like the hyperrhythmic traditional warm-ups, but I think if you start with something like this, it just changes the framing of of the more traditional warm-ups. Yeah, I like the freeze. I'm using the freeze pedal by Electro-Harmonix, and I think it's nice because it keeps you attached to the ground, and doesn't let it. For me, it keeps me from just going off into like noodles and like just a different type of free flow.
I like how you say a different type, like.
Yeah, it's not worse, but it's
place for everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I guess one thing I wanted to then move into is that some of the compositions on your albums, I've noticed there's a lot of concepts in there. Like, one thing I was listening and just thinking about was your use of polyrhythmic guitar parts and the like. And I guess what I was curious about was, when you write things like that might be quote unquote difficult or whatever, does it naturally come from like a purely compositional standpoint of like hearing the sound first, or can it sometimes be something you're like working on that turns into a tune or something, or a tune to tune pipeline kind of thing? Yeah, I was just curious whether like where you start with things like that might be like, I was listening to your tune 345, and there's like a lot going on.
Yeah.
And now it was just making me wonder, like, do you write those as one part that you're playing all the polyrhythms, or is it more like record focus where you multi-tracking them just to get the cohesive picture after the fact or something?
I mean, it can be both.
Okay.
But that tune in particular started off because I mentioned that it took me 5 years to do my undergrad because I had an injury. During that like 6-month period where I couldn't play, it was like a combination of like tendonitis and like shoulder tightness that was aggravating a nerve, and it took a while to figure out exactly what was doing it. But during that time, I was kind of just going crazy. And I was like, okay, what can I work on? I'm second year in college. I see everyone getting better. It's terrifying. I don't know when I'm going to be able to play like I was again. So I became very hyper-focused on rhythm. And like, do you know the guitar player Miles Okazaki?
I don't.
He's like a New York guy. He's amazing. He does like a lot of deep dives into Monk, but also his compositions are really interesting. And it's like they can be associated with pictures and very like fractal rhythm based things. It's really trippy. Yeah. But I got really into learning about how he composed. And something he's explored a lot are these like stacked polyrhythms. And this was kind of my attempt at my own exploration of that. And eventually it was just like, kind of start off as an exercise, but it started off as an exercise in the same way that what I played earlier is a warm up. Exactly. Where it's still exercise with a little bit of a different framing. But with that one, it was just trying to like get better at 4/5 and 3/5. I was just like, oh, that feels crazy. Can I even talk, even when I'm doing this?
Yeah.
And then came up with that kind of harmonic progression to F sharp sus. And then, eventually I was just like, okay, can I go 3/5? And then can I do them both at the same time? And the trick is that it's never actually perfect. And it's kind of like that. I think the natural push and pull that happens with you trying to perfectly get it's really the getting when they're happening at the same time. Because you can kind of get like, it's like, that was pretty close. But there's also like there's always a little bit of humanistic swing to it.
And you want that too.
That's of course, it's like, you do that for like 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to do the progression of like C major 7 to E over G sharp, E minor over G to F sharp sus to F sharp 7. Then the really hard part is then I'm like, okay, what if I alternate the top note? Because that's the most boring voice at this point, And that took a long time. It was a lot of hours in an indoor space. But hey, it's good. It's good for the guitar playing. It's good for your skin, I guess.
Yeah, and I one thing I love that you kind of brought up, the fact that while dealing with an injury, and I myself have gone through similar experiences where you're like, you just all of a sudden can't even just practice the way that you are used to, maybe, but sometimes what it can bring up, at least for me, it was like, well, maybe you aren't practicing the best. If it's like, at that time, it was like something like that can kind of put up a mirror a little bit of just like things to, as you move out of that experience and things, it can teach you a lot, like especially the droning type of getting really grounded musically. Like, I think, at least for myself, those types of deeper musical feelings and things almost came from not being able to mindlessly noodle anymore, because maybe as a younger player I thought that was like practicing was just going, and then when that started to hurt, it was like, well, what do I do now, in a way. So I love that you focused on something like rhythm and all that, because especially whereas sometimes it feels like we just can never practice everything that's out there. It's you never know when something that's negative on the surface might push you to achieve more rhythmic things. Yeah.
I mean, what you said about it being a mirror, I think is really important. I feel like that especially I've come back to a lot. It's a very reoccurring concept with guitar because like mirrors are already kind of funny things because like I feel like I can only speak for myself with this, but like I associate what my face looks like as like one of the core things of like who I think I am.
Yeah.
It's like that's who you are. It's like you look at your hand, it's like, yeah, that's me. But like if you see your face, you're like, that's me.
Yeah.
And that's the one part of ourselves that like we can't, there's one of the few parts of ourselves that we can't actually see, without a mirror. And I think guitar is a really interesting mirror that kind of starts off as a really bad mirror. It's like you can't really see it. Sometimes it's like warped. And then through practicing and doing that, we're cleaning the mirror and polishing the mirror.
I love
and
that.
then it ends up becoming like weird. I don't know if you found this, but the more I work on guitar, the less it becomes about guitar.
Absolutely.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah,
and I love it, but boy, is it humbling.
Yeah. I find like, something like you working on rhythm, you finding there's just so much more. That's why, especially when I asked about the warm up, I was curious because it's something that I think it can be so physical. The guitar can be such a difficult instrument in terms of like, it's like a labyrinth to me. There's so many, every new, it's like a choose your own adventure book, Goosebumps book. Like every new note you play you could go a different direction or a different way and still keep playing the same kind of ideas. So it's very like, we can get very preoccupied with the physicality of like hands on the fretboard basically. And I love that. Yeah. You just being able to come out of an experience like that as well with compositions is amazing. It wasn't just rhythm for the sake of getting through that time. But while you were playing, something I really wanted to ask basically is, so that, I don't know when you wrote that song, but I'm pretty sure that came out in 2016, right?
Yeah, I think I wrote it in, probably would have been like 2013.
Okay. So what is your, as like a full artist that releases music and has for 10 years now, you had a pretty difficult piece kind of just like ready to go. So like, what is your approach to your own repertoire? Because at least for me, like most of the time I'm playing other people's music. So repertoire means one thing in that space where it's just like knowing standards of every genre kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your own compositions, like, how's your approach of just keeping things ready to play that people might even just, it comes up in conversation and it's like, you just, boom, I'm ready to play that tune of mine.
I think it's their nature that they get dusty sometimes. Like there's some tunes off of Dream State that if you asked me to do a solo guitar version of right now, I would be like, okay, let's I haven't done this one in quite a while.
Yeah.
Like Semantic Satiation or something, the last song on the record, that is another like weird finger picking pattern that I think I'd have to think about. I could probably do it, but I think I just try to play. I like to play I try to write songs that I really like to play, and I think following that joy really solves a lot of the problems for us in that process. Like, because if you like to play it, like I had a song, I don't know when this is getting released, but I had a song come out today called Hymn Song, and I love playing that song. Yeah. It's just very fun. It's a very like positive association. It's not super athletic, and it just feels like a song. And it's a good, I feel like I reach for it a lot. Then there's other songs that I feel like, I have to, if I know I have a gig coming up where I want to play it, I have to shed it a little bit.
Sit with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool. And I love how you said that, the connection between joy and, because it is true, like if you're composing your own music, and even if the tune comes up in your own practice schedule and you're like, ugh, it's like that's maybe like it might just be something to tweak about it, but it's something to notice at least, I guess.
Yeah, like if a song's written for the purpose of being impressive and for other people, like if it's a tool for how you want other people to see you, you're gonna have a very different association relationship with that type of song than a song that you wrote at 11 p.m. while you were drinking tea because you thought it sounded beautiful. So definitely written both types of songs, and I tend to like practicing the latter of the two.
And I love that you said that though, because it's like it's really sometimes that could be what it is. It's almost like an ego check to think for yourself, like, am I writing this for someone else or for myself? Because another thing related that I was curious about is I was listening to his song on the way here. It's a great record. Man. I really like it. Like check it out. It's very cool. But one thing I especially love about it is I tend to like. So I love all guitar music. I love from the fusion shredding to just like solo acoustic records or whatever. But one thing I tend to, I wouldn't say I like more, but I almost see them in a different light is like when a guitar album comes out or guitar music is released and the song's under 4 minutes and there's no insane guitar solo. And I love insane guitar solos, but sometimes it's like, it reminds me of the kind of era of Freddie King when he had all those great instrumentals. And I try to keep in mind that like, there have been guitar instrumentals that like top the charts and they were never they were never super cerebral things. So I love like a pop structured guitar record, and I feel like I feel like songs, where you play some more crazy stuff, but what's your approach to that? Like keeping a song where you don't have a section where it's like, all right, time to show a solo off or something, like how the approach to just like a piece of music where the guitar isn't the role that we might always assume it needs to take almost at some point, so just if you have any thoughts on that, because it was something I was noticing. It was very like just composed, not like there was no solo section, which I loved basically, or a solo section in terms of like, big distorted tone.
Never shreds.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for checking it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it. I grew up with my mom playing a bunch of Sheryl Crow records and Elton John. And I think as I've gotten older, I've come to really like have a deep relationship with songwriting. And I think part of this is like the songs I like to play the most aren't just solo vehicles. Which I have a couple on like the next record that's coming out that are kind of more like that, but I really just love songs. And I think the last like 2 years when I was writing the songs for the record that's coming out now, that was like the big emphasis. And when I was living in New York, there was a big period of time when I was putting out music where I was singing, which is since like it's living in its own space now, kind of away from my main artist project, but I think a lot of that taught me a lot about how I want a song to feel. And I think the first thing I'm thinking about whenever I'm writing these days is like, how does the air in the room feel when the song is playing? Because it's like, you think about when you're a kid and you're like on the school bus and you're listening to the first Foo Fighters record or something, like how that atmosphere, how you could feel the air and like feel how you felt in that space. And it like really creates like a whole vibe. And I think that's like kind of the most important part, because there are songs that don't have lyrics that do it really strongly. It's like there are songs with lyrics that do it really strongly. But I mean, if I could make an instrumental guitar song that feels like I'm listening to an Adrian Lenker song or something, like that's what I would ask for any day.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. Like I love how you said the air in the room. It almost, what I took from that is almost like if it did need a shreddy guitar solo, then it's time. Sometimes it asks for that. Yeah. But it's letting it do the asking, quote unquote, from the verses.
I don't want it to be like a tool to serve my own ego more than it naturally is, by putting out a song that's under your own name. Like there is a certain aspect to that is innate, but yeah, because Sometimes it's just about the melody.
Yeah, and sometimes I've even had times where you want the space in the room to feel like that for the audience, but at times too, it can even feel like a superfluous solo moment for yourself, even because you can
Exactly.
if you're sensitive to the room, you can tell sometimes that like will change the vibe. I've found at times like we're not necessarily in the same Guitar Hero culture of not the game, like the concept of like yesteryear, to where I think like people are pretty. It's almost not even surprising to see like 8-9-year-olds play Eruption now. It's kind of like it's just par for the course. So people aren't seeing a solo most of the time where they're like, what even is that anymore? So it's sort of like, which is a blessing in one way, that it's like about what the point of it is. It's less of like a parlor trick at this point. You know what I mean? So like you can be intentional and use a solo moment to do something to that atmosphere, but being sensitive that it's not just there for the sake of being there,
Exactly.
So I was curious as well, a little more on the gear side.
Sure.
So I noticed, I don't know what kind of guitar it was, but I noticed you used to play like a pretty large hollow body kind of jazz guitar. And I'm curious in the transition. I mean, you may still play that, but I'm always curious by jazzy-ish guitarists that like go the solid body or semi-hollow route. Like I was very excited. I don't even know why, but when Julian Lodge started playing Tellys, I was just like, that looks so cool. Like there was something about it. So I was just curious as to like how that transition went, whether there was like conscious or just sort of dictated by the work you were doing, but yeah, just like how you went from sort of the big body to now more, I guess, solid body, more, less like jazz luthier.
Yeah, because I was playing a Victor Baker, which is I think that's the guitar you're talking about.
I think so. Yeah, is the cover of Dream State that one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one I had in mind. Yeah,
and love that guitar. It's a beautiful guitar. I think there was part of me that was playing that guitar because I felt like that was the guitar I should be playing, especially when I was thinking about like, okay, I'm listening to a lot of Peter Bernstein, a lot of Gilad Hexelman, a lot of like Lage Lund, like these dudes that were playing guitars like that, which I think it made sense for that time. And now, I was playing this Telly for a very long time, made by Danicaster.
Nice.
The last couple of years, and that was really great, and it still is great. I use it all the time, but then I kind of hit a point where like, okay, I miss a little bit of that extra air that gets moved, and then this Collings came into my life about a year ago, and this has kind of been my main go-to for the last 6 months. It's really opened up in the last couple of months, and now I'm just obsessed with it. But yeah, I think I like the versatility of like a Telly or a 335 style guitar, because I've played a lot of funk music in my life as well, and I always like it when a guitar can do that, even if I'm not doing that as often. And I like it to be able to hold. I think with bigger like semi-hollows or hollow body guitars, there's a certain way that they react to distortion, which is cool, but it kind of there's something about it I just don't love. It feels like you're losing the part of the guitar that made it sound the most like itself, and it doesn't feel as symbiotic. And with like this Collings or a Telly like the Danicaster, I feel like it's a much more symbiotic relationship with effects. And I've become a very heavy reverb user.
Nice.
Over the last I think partially over the last couple of years, partially because I just want to pretend like I'm a keyboard player as much as I can.
As much sustain as we can
It's also
muster.
easier to fly with.
True.
I think I'm bringing this one to Japan with me.
Okay.
In like a month, which I am a little bit scared of, but I think it'll be fine. It's very sturdy.
Yeah, and it's funny too as well. Like when this is, logistically your profession. Sometimes those things like dictate as well what guitar you'll use is how much of a nightmare will it be to travel with. But you mentioned going to Japan. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that trip and some other things you have coming up? Because you mentioned it earlier, and it just sounds very exciting. So yeah, what do you have?
Yeah, so I did my very first non-music vacation earlier this year.
Congratulations.
It was to like Tokyo and Kyoto, very like traditional first trip to Japan. So I'd never been, and yeah, I just booked a flight for 2 weeks and just walked everywhere and explored and drank really good coffee and like saw all the like the little outdoorsy spots that I could see. And while I was very reconnected with some musicians that I went to college with, and especially this drummer named Hiroki, and we started talking over the last couple months. We're like, okay, yeah, it would be great to record together at some point, and like maybe we'll play some shows. And then it's kind of turned into, now we have, I think, like a 6-song album, TBD exactly how many songs, but we have a whole day in the studio. We're going to record as much as we can. We have a couple shows. I just had a big collaboration with Fender with their new Ultra Luxe Vintage series.
So yeah, I saw those videos. Yeah, awesome.
The full proper, the government name.
Yeah, right.
And which are great, by the way. They're amazing guitars.
Sweet.
And so I guess they have like a whole thing with like a bunch of the content that we made at the Tokyo flagship store.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to be doing like a little Q&A performance, solo guitar performance out there.
Nice.
And then, yeah, just a couple shows.
Sweet. Yeah. So, so when you get ready to go into the studio with, say your connection in Japan, so for this one, you have some songs prepared, but at what point do you think, I guess, do you record your demos and such as you go along, and then are you sort of like, oh, now I have a project at this point, or is it more of I need X amount of songs and we're making a project? Do you know what I mean? Is it like, okay, now we have enough, let's put something together? Or is it the other way where it's like, we need 10 songs and let's make a record in this way?
This one is the first time I've really given myself a self-imposed deadline, because I'm like, the studio's booked. I don't have any songs written, because I just recorded the record that's coming out now last December, and then had another record that I recorded in March. And then there's another one that's more improvised, but like I was just out of tunes. So I'm like, okay, I gotta like try to write a tune a week. And fortunately, I've gotten a couple good dice rolls with getting songs that I really enjoy, and I think will work really well for the project.
Nice.
So I got to figure out how I'm gonna, like, what pedals I'm gonna bring. I think I have a stripped down version.
Of this this board you have here. Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
because you must have a lot of sounds you can grab out of the pedals at your feet here.
There's a lot. There's definitely a lot of sounds in here, especially because of the HX Stomp.
Yeah, and I guess this is a sort of related a little bit back to the question of which guitar you're choosing to play at certain times. How much do you think that, for you at least, certain things about certain guitars become what's the thing that you connect most to it? Like I've found recently that sometimes it's not even the like the sound is obviously one of the most important things, but even is then down to like, I've played a Strat style guitars for several years now, and it's not even like, sometimes people think Strat style, just they're thinking like tremolo system, single coils, but to me I'm thinking like, where's the volume knob and where is the pickup switch? like super things that people might overlook, but if I like went to play, say when I take a telly out on a gig, like every time I reach for the volume I have to be like, oh crap, it's back here. So like, but sometimes that it becomes so much like my Strat volume knob mixed with a volume pedal almost becomes like the instrument. like an organ where like you need that volume, because it's like controlling gain levels and volume levels. So like have you ever noticed considerations like that where it's like it's literally in the design of the electronics that make a guitar like connect to you versus just the size or construction or something?
Totally. Yeah, I grew up playing an Epiphone Casino.
Okay.
So fortunately, when I started playing this a lot, it's kind of the same setup, except for Collings they like specifically make their switch go diagonal.
Oh, so it's kind of like a
that way. So like that was like I kept on like messing with that. I kept on like pushing it the wrong way a little bit. But I think like I've spent enough time with Strats, Tellies, and 335s that it doesn't trip me up too much now. That being said, Strats kind of mess me up now because since the volume knob is so close, if I'm doing like a funky thing right around the bridge pickup, it'll like by the end of the chorus, it's like it's down 2 notches, and I'm like, oh man, like
I find that as well. Yeah, it is a double-edged sword that it's so close to where it is. Yeah,
but like it's good. I've never been one to do the Jeff Beck like kind of volume swell or like anything like that. I just burn through volume pedals.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
How long does a volume pedal last you? If you're not using it as expression.
The Dunlop ones last pretty long, I guess.
These last the longest for me.
Yeah, as well. Me as well. I used to use the Ernie Ball ones, and I'll say like, I don't think I ever had one of those nightmares where the string breaks.
Oh, I did twice.
Dang, yeah. I owned one or two, and then found out after I had bought them that was a thing, and it was like a horror campfire story to me. I was like,
I tried to replace it once.
Oh yeah.
Never again.
Okay,
never again. I mean, I think they sound great. I think they feel amazing.
I love the feel of it as well.
Feel.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been more frustrated in my entire life than like trying to wrap the string around the bobbin, and then I know I've heard that like people mod them to get like a more of a wire.
Oh, okay, got it.
Which feels a little different because it doesn't stretch as much, but it also doesn't break.
True, because like you said, the feel is like sometimes that's a little resistance is good rather than just like flopping all the way down. So it's I mean, these are super nitty gritty guitar player nerdiness.
But like, I would love to try like one of the Mission Engineering ones or the Lely.
I don't know how to say it either, but those look great though.
It's supposed to be really good, but I can never like. That's the amount of space I have. So I would rather every year and a half, 2 years, replace this one, retire it to just be the expression pedal for a Kemper or a Helix.
Yeah, exactly.
And then but volume pedal is probably my favorite pedal.
It's funny, but me as well, because it's like it's funny. You just when you said you don't do much of the Jeff Beck like that swell thing, like I don't really use my volume control like that either. But when I don't have a volume pedal on a gig, I feel very like. Yeah. It feels like I'm in the Ramones or something. I'm like, it just feels like there's one pickup all of a sudden. It feels very bare bones. So like, so me as well, that it's like you get so much expression and levels out of things just by changing the volume of it. And especially if you're using like, when I play a lot of R&B and stuff, sometimes you have a highly compressed tone for that kind of like Paul Jackson Jr. thing. Mm-hmm. So then it's like, then all my dynamics for the parts and stuff are going to come from the foot, totally, because it's like if I pick lighter, it's probably going to stay a little squashed or whatever for that really like funky thing. But cool. So at the end of every episode, my favorite part is just giving the floor to whoever the guest is of the day to play really whatever you want. It could be, we've talked a lot about, non-shreddy music and, hyper complex polyrhythmic music, but just really whatever space you want to live in right now. We'd just love to hear you play either one of your tunes or just something improvised, but just really, let us hear something.
Oh, let's see. What should I play? Maybe I'll do something a little weird and go into something a little less weird. Make it so the guitar doesn't make weird noises with the chair. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Sweet.